We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Here we go. Happy Wednesday, everybody. February 12th. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Sports by the Book. We are live from the South Point Hotel and Casino 7 days a week. You can find our show. If you're watching right now, you can tell we have switched from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., and that is Monday through Friday. On Saturday, back here at 8:30 a.m. and on Sunday at 9. So want to get you ready for all of the games before they begin, especially tip-off for college basketball. Big slate today in college hoops. We will go over some recap from last night, go over our plays of the day, and we're going to talk a little bit about Four Nations NHL starting tonight. Really looking forward to this that they are doing in place of the NHL All-Star Game. I'm Alex White. We've got Sean and Ryan behind the glass getting us going today, and alongside Kenny White next to me, who we have here Monday through Wednesday. Oh, Sunday starting this week, yes. Or starting next week.
Yeah. Next week, yes, but that'll be the new schedule. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I'll jump in on Wednesday. Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll jump in with you and Jeff, and we'll do probably rapid-fire college basketball because that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the tournament coming up. Already projected seedings for these teams, who's in, who's out. SEC, we definitely have to talk about that. But first, any new shows or documentaries that you want to fill us in on?
Yeah, I think there's a new one. It was I watched a couple this weekend. One's called Outcry, and it's about a high school Texas football player. Very fascinating. Couldn't stop watching it. Been watching. It's only like 5 episodes, but it it's a lot to do with the American justice system and how it can fail you. But that was a really good one. And then the same person who recommended that said, hey, you got to watch this new OJ documentary. I'm like, I've seen them all. I don't need to see any more. It's that's what I thought, but just watch. It's pretty amazing. It really goes behind the scenes with the attorneys and everybody involved. And the one part that I found the most interesting was, when they had OJ try the glove on. And they were the defense was so prepared for that. They practiced for it. They knew it was coming. How they were going to make it look like it didn't fit him. So his agent actually said, stop taking your arthritis medicine. And OJ was like, I can't, my knuckles they'll get all swollen. He says, that's the point. When your knuckles get all swollen, you'll never be able to get the gloves on. They'll never fit. And that's what he did. They practiced. He was an actor. He went into his acting mode, and he was like, oh, look at these gloves. Neither one of them fit. He's not even pulling on them. He was just kind of putting his hand on each one like he was pulling on them. It's like, they don't fit. And that's his defense team did an amazing job. But this documentary points out all of the facts that the police didn't really get to the prosecution team. And they were saying on average, a murder case has like 10 to 15 samples of DNA of the mixed blood of the people that are involved. This one had over 500. They had over 500 samples of mixed blood of all three. There was just no doubt that OJ did it. There was no doubt. It was 1,000,000% he did it because of the evidence. There was no way somebody could plant evidence, and that's what the defense team was trying to say. The LA Police Department planted this, but there was no way they could plant 500 times.
Oh my gosh.
If it was like 2 or 3 times and they had all 3 bloods in one, then you say, oh, maybe they planted that. There's no way they could have put it on 500 different areas from his car to his house to Nicole's house. So he definitely did it from this documentary, but it showed how the defense got him off.
Wow. And that's the first of hearing about the arthritis medicine? And
yeah, I never knew that.
Wow.
I never knew that. So he stopped taking the arthritis medicine. His knuckles were all swollen, and he couldn't get his hands in the glove because his knuckles were swollen. Simply amazing. He paid for the best. You get what you paid for. He paid for the best defense team in the world. He really did. He had an army of attorneys, and they were all the top in the United States in their field.
So that one, and then what was the high school football documentary?
The outcry. It's pretty sad for the main character. Could have been a D1 football player and was kind of framed, but you'll see. There are other shoe drops, and it's back and twist and turns, but it was pretty interesting.
Well, from there, I do want to hit on one topic before we get into our recap and get into today's games. But I was thinking about it yesterday going up to the book, and I know a lot of people are going to be cashing out right now. It's big weekend, Super Bowl weekend, probably the most bets that a lot of people are making. And I thought about the tipping etiquette and how much you should be giving the people at the counter, because I was a little unsure, and I never liked that scenario. So I thought other people may have the same question. So where are you? I know you are a very good tipper, and that is because you have worked on all sides, right?
Yeah.
And that usually happens when you've been on the other side of the counter. You know how it is. So where are you with the tipping, and what percentage and percentage of your winnings and that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you're right. The book is the most underpaid department of the entire casino, which is a shame. It shouldn't be. They have to make the most decisions and be, very accurate at what they do. And they're vastly underpaid. I think the entire crew, all the way up to Chris Andrews, he's underpaid. That's been the sports book way for years, because it's always felt like it's the necessary evil. So tipping on that side of it, I think about if you hit a royal flush on a machine for quarters and it pays $1,000 and they come over and pay you, most people will tip between, 40 and $100 in that range. So it's anywhere from, 4 to 10%.
Okay. Sounds right.
The book is feels like it's a lot more difficult to beat, but it's not. So I'm always in about the 10% range. I shouldn't say that. I'm in about the 5% range. 5% range. I think about if I take out 5,000, I usually tip between 200 and 300. Okay. So I think about in the 5% range is the right range. I'm just thinking if I go and I had one ticket and I cash it and it's $550 to win 500 and I cash out, I'll give them 10 of that So it's just, I guess, all depends on, I don't know. I guess the service too, when you're especially if you're going back to the same clerk all the time and you build up a rapport with them, you give them a little bit extra because you're always carrying on conversations and they're nice and they're not being nice for trying to get tips. Believe me, tips in the sports book are really few and far in between. It's not like being a service employee or bartender or blackjack dealer. They're used to getting tips all of the time, daily, constantly, and that's just not the case in the sports book.
And they really do so much. I mean, even for me, who I know, to have the rotation numbered and do all this, I ran up there the other day right before a show, and I just had the teams, and they were like, "Okay, give them to me, let's go," and help you through that. Or they also are over explaining the same things to new customers all of the time because people are getting more into sports betting. And so, they do a great job there. And that's interesting that you say they're underpaid. And I think that is part of the reason why you didn't go that route and instead started a company making the line to go to the casinos, right? Yeah,
the first property that I ran, I made that property more money than 5 other sports books in the downtown area combined. And I went up for a raise. I was making $30,000 a year, and they offered me $32,000 a year. And you're going to give me an extra $2,000 a year, and I won you over $2 million. I don't think that's very fair. And they flat out told me that, hey, we're basically a training area for other companies. Most people come to our company, they learn the business, and they leave and they go on to the bigger companies to make more money. And this was still a very major corporation in town, which that completely shocked me. It didn't make any sense when you have 5 or 6 properties. We're not talking about, a 4-seat casino. This was a major casino, which shocked me at the time. So I ended up starting my own business and supplying, the Stardust with betting odds, and went from there.
Very interesting stuff.
And that's why I always thought, so many people got out of this business. When I dealt with the Stardust, I dealt with 6 or 7 supervisors. 4 of them left the Stardust from being a supervisor, and they love sports, and they were only making $50,000, $60,000 a year, and they went into other avenues of the casino where they were making an $80,000 to $100,000 a year, and probably less hours too, as like a host or could be a pit boss even. We're making more money than supervisors in the sports book.
I don't know about a host. I think they work the most hours out of
they do. Yeah,
anybody in Las Vegas.
But sometimes they, at that point, when I'm talking back in the 90s, they probably made a lot more money than that. Some hosts were making $200,000-$300,000 or more. A friend of mine, Steve Sear, he wrote a book about dealing with the whales, and he dealt with the biggest whales in the world. And I think Steve probably made close to $500,000 a year as a host.
A lot of opportunities here in this city. That's why we do love it. But I do want to turn our attention to a couple recaps from yesterday, especially looking at the SEC. Very impressive win. So Bama and Auburn are playing this Saturday. That is the game of the day. If you look at the AP polls right now, they are number 1 and number 2. Not a look ahead for either one of them. Both of them handle business. Bama with a big win over Texas, and Auburn with a big win over Vandy. Kentucky gets the regular season sweep over Tennessee. That was a little shocking. I know that you did like Tennessee in that spot, but pretty impressive game for them. And then Florida, no letdown for them. Even with an injury early on in that game for them, they still handled business and beat Mississippi State. So SEC still looking dominant. Looks like they're separating themselves even more now, the top teams from the bottom teams. But looking forward to Auburn and Bama on Saturday.
But the Iron Bowl, that's what it is in football. That's what it is in basketball. And it's such a huge rivalry that these two do play such competitive games, and this is going to be no different. I would make Alabama a small favorite at home, anywhere between 1.5 and 2.5 in that range. I think probably the lower number is the better number at 1.5, because with Auburn being number 1, obviously, your number 1 team in the country getting points. Well,
right.
They're on the road, and this is a strong home court for Alabama, and they're very well coached.
It'll be interesting. They have a weird scheduling where Yes, they play at Alabama. Then they are also the last game of the year. Might be part of the rivalry thing there. But so have not faced each other yet. This is the first of two. UConn gets it done, getting 4 points against Creighton. So they did get their revenge in that game. Fell behind early, but good second half by them. And the Huskies take that one against Creighton. Michigan State lost to Indiana, so still waiting on Izzo to beat that record. UCLA did.
Remember, I told you, he said after that last game when they tied it, we are partying tonight. And he was crying, and I thought, man, you didn't break the record yet. I mean, you just tied it. That was very shocking. So they were not ready for Indiana. I think they thought they were going to get that win. Those type of situations are good. I didn't bet against it myself, but I should have.
Yes, would have been a good one. And then K-State keeps it rolling. I mean, really the turnaround is very impressive by them, and they did get the win over Arizona. Those are the top games that really stuck out to me, but we're going to get into some games. So we didn't have a great record with our teams that matched up. George Mason and St. Louis did go to overtime, so that under 132 died pretty early. I did get my Syracuse-Miami over. We talked about them playing no defense. That definitely helped out. That flew over the total. North Texas and Rice looked like a great under. First half was in our favor, and then too many points in the second, so no for that. But I did get a cover with UCLA, so 2 and 3 for me on a Tuesday. I think you are checking yours right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back and look at that North Texas Rice game, because that was, it was one of those days that you don't like to have. I saw that first score in North Texas Rice, and they ended up getting 60 points at the half. Came 128. It went over by 2 points. But the first score I saw in that game was extremely low scoring, and it might have been early in the game. It was 7-4. It was 13-7. 13-7 with 11 minutes to go. 11:30 to go. I thought that's really good. We're a little over 2 points. I mean, we're looking at a 50 first half, and they ended up getting 59. And they just got there in the second half. I didn't look and see. But there probably was a lot of fouls late in that game. It was on 120 with 119 with 2.5 to go. And there was a score, 2 free throws made to get it over the total with 10 seconds left. But they had to foul. Rice had to foul. So there was, wasn't a bad loss. It was just that's the way the game was played. For me, I was very fortunate yesterday when I was 2 and 4 on the whiteboard, and I lost my dog of the day, Indiana State, and I thought that was a really good play. But I ended up Loyola Marymount was my best play of the day by far, and they were down at halftime, and they were down in the first half, and I said, this team's going to win the game. I know they are. They're a way better team, and they got revenge. I took 5.5 or 4.5, I think, in the first half. And then at halftime, I came back and bet more on Loyola Marymount, and I ended up having about a 6% bet on the game, that's too big of a game, much too big of a bet that I should have never had. But I was fortunate to win it, and that helped out for the entire day. Basically, I picked up 3 winners in one bet, and actually more than that, because all of my plays were 1%, I picked up 6% on that one game. It made up for 6 losers. So for me, the day was kind of a break-even day, a small loss.
I was pretty fortunate too, because I missed the Auburn Vandy over, got my unders and my underdog in, and then I jumped in at over 147, and free throws helped me get there. That final was 148. So fortunate for me too. But if anybody followed, not a great day for me with that.
You did what on the Auburn?
It was 147
at halftime or in game.
I think it was.
I didn't know if that half went over. I saw the second half. I think they scored 82 in the second half.
Second half was definitely.
So I didn't know what the number was, but I probably would have jumped in on that. I wasn't able to. Had 3 meetings yesterday. It was a really busy day. Busy day. I met Ken Murphy. He came over. I'd like to have Ken Murphy on the show one day. I'd like to bring him in here. Ken's a really interesting guy and has a really great story about, and he's a great sports bettor. He's one of the best I've ever seen. I've followed a lot of bettors and have bet their plays and have never won with anyone except for Ken Murphy betting his plays when I have.
And he has a very unique strategy in that he is very selective.
Oh yeah, very selective.
And
he doesn't need a lot of plays.
Not a ton of plays.
He likes 1 or 2 plays a day, and but he's got a great story. I mean, he was in Sports Illustrated because he was the first sports fund in the state of Nevada, and talked about that with him yesterday about getting him in here one day and having him on the show. He really enjoys it. He's one of our loyal followers as well, and he's part of Kenny White Sports and does a lot of stuff for me at Kenny White Sports. So. The other one was I had my programmer come over and met with him and going over the football stuff. It's so nice that since he's working on the football, he's also working on all the football leagues. So he's got CFL, UFL, and college football and NFL, the 4 football leagues, working them all together at one because it's football. So he wants to make sure he's got them all. So it's great because now we won't be able to hit UFL because I think it starts too soon, but I think we'll be in time to be able to run our programs on the CFL to work out all the bugs for when the NFL season starts. So this will be something, it'll be on my website that people will be able to go on and subscribe. They'll be able to see all of the projected scores for all the final games. They'll be able to see the adjusted stats for each team, the rankings on those adjusted stats for all those football leagues. And it'll be just, a wealth of information that people will be able to go look at, and the projections, like I said, will be there. So that was fun. And then I had a later meeting on the phone with one of the people that I just hired to help me out get some work done. And that's going well. That already he's saving me at least 45 minutes a day now. And once he gets step 2 done, he's going to save me an hour and a half every day. So I'm very excited about that. And then I'm going to get him, and then it'll take me another week to get him into the next step to save me another 45 minutes. And
then we will have NBA coming next week, right after the All-Star break, which is this week. And every team in action tonight. I wish we did have those numbers, which they were looking really good when I was helping you out and going through NBA every night, but
the trades threw us off first. It just was on the back burner with everything going on that, I'm doing women's college basketball. And if I wasn't doing women's college basketball, I could do the NBA, but it's just too much with that many teams. And I've automated so much of the process, and I feel so good about it that automation's working because I can see it in both the men's and the women's. And then college baseball's coming up. It starts on Friday.
Oh my gosh.
So hopefully you were going to help me here to this after the show this morning because I need to input some numbers. And I'm writing a lot of stuff down in my book with ratings that I need to get in the system to kind of automate that process as well.
And we always talk about these smaller sports, you can win in them. It is tough to win in the 4 major sports, and so that is why NBA has definitely taken a back seat. Checking in with the chat really quick because Ryan and Sean are doing a great job keeping us updated. JR jumps in and says Temple enters tonight with 13 overs in a row. Dean Hill talking about rain, which should be rain in lots of places around the country. We should have rain here tomorrow as well, but he's worried about it might prevent Santa Anita from running on Friday.
I'm worried about college baseball games getting rained out then. I didn't realize that, but I love the weather aspect of baseball. Need that for me.
Well, and we need it here for sure.
We definitely need it here for definitely me.
Sean can't wait for us to jump in about St. John's and Villanova, which is the first game. We will get to that any minute now. Bob Custer, go Lakers. He also says 5 to 10% on tips. 40 Kid is here as well. Happy to have some hockey back tonight. Took a future on USA with goaltending edge with Hellebuck. That is funny. 40 Kid, I did take some on USA as well with not just Hellebuck, but the 3 goalies that they have with Ottinger. And then, of course, Swayman as well. Ron Len is here. Loves Kenny's documentary reviews and recommendations. Long Island Mike said about tipping the sportsbook as well, and Vicarious Vegas is here. So thank you all for joining us live. We appreciate you. Thank you for anybody who is watching us later on in the day as well. Let's get started. We've got a lot of college basketball to get to, and then, of course, the Four Nations. So starting off with St. John's and Villanova. Pretty impressive. St. John's, they are 12-1 right now in the Big East. Villanova 6-7.
7-6 I have.
7-6.
Yeah,
Villanova in the conference?
Yeah.
You are correct.
Yeah, I'm correct. Yeah.
They are 7-6. So St. John's already won once this year, but they were at home. No revenge for either side. Where do we have this number right now?
I have St. John's 2 and 132.5. And, again, you have to check the conference standings. St. John's has a 1-game lead for first place, a 6-game lead for the bye. That's basically locked up. They're going to get a bye. Do they have a letdown here since they've beaten Villanova once and they're coming off that Connecticut win? Villanova has just a 1-game lead for the bye, and they're playing well at home, 8-3 ATS their last 11 games. So I have a small lean, but now I guess there has been some money for Villanova. So my number is right on. There's not a lot there. The total at 138.5. I do have 132.5. It scares me that St. John's runs.
Right. But
Villanova plays extremely slow. It is strength against strength. St. John's defense is their strength, and it's good. I watched them against Connecticut. The Huskies got out to a 14-point lead. Tino called timeout. And then the next thing I knew, Connecticut could not get an easy look. Those 5 guys on the court for the Johnnies, they can play defense. They're outstanding, and they are quick, they're long, they're athletic, and they can lock you down, and that's what they did. Villanova scores well, and their defense is really an below average defense. So, there's some pluses and minuses to betting this game under. And again, St. John's 4-1 under on the road. Villanova 8-4 over at home. So I don't know. I made a small play under for 1% because it's an under.
You do talk about the coaches and knowing the coaches and who will have their team ready. And Patino seems like a guy that will not allow a letdown here, even with that lead for the bye.
Yeah, they're only 1 game up in first place. It doesn't, great coaches like that don't allow their teams to let down, like Florida yesterday. Glad I went in on them because we were worried about a letdown, but I just felt like they were the way better team. And those are my best bets. I make a team 6.5 and their pick. Come on, even if if I take off 2.5 for a letdown, I still make it 4 and have a good difference. Same thing here. I just don't think there's a letdown. You're right, but my numbers are right on, and I hope there's no letdown because that means the defense will be solid tonight.
Let's go to the Southern Conference here. We've got East Tennessee State and Western Carolina. East Tennessee State 10.5 and 141.5.
I don't have a lot. I made it 11.5, so we're right on the number. The total I did make a little lower, 133. The first game came 143. It was a blowout, though, by 27. Looking at trends, East Tennessee State is 14-9 to the under overall, 8-3 under on the road. Neither team plays that fast. Western Carolina plays a little bit quicker. They do like an up-tempo game, but they're really bad. They're one of the worst scoring teams in the country. I guess that's why I'm on the under here because they just can't score. I don't care how fast they play.
Right.
They can't shoot, and they turn the ball over a lot.
Listening to your show this morning, I believe you have a play on this one, Niagara 8 and 137.5.
Yeah, this is another thing when you're handicapping. You need to know how far the schools are apart and what type of rivalries there are. We all know about Duke and North Carolina. The campuses are 8 miles away. Well, yesterday we had the Loyola Marymount, and why I played that game because they're right down the street from each other. I think they're 12 miles on it may not even be that. I just know they're very close. They're big rivals. They have the same amount of fans, and there's no home advantage there. This one's a Buffalo. This is my Brian Blessing game because Brian always, he talked about this a lot. The teams in the Niagara area, the Buffalo area, it didn't matter. This is like a derby game they call in over the pond in the UK. A derby game is 2 huge rivals. Throw out the stats. It doesn't matter because you're going to get the best effort out of the underdog because they hate each other so much. Well, this is part of this rivalry. These schools are 21 miles apart. Niagara went into Canisius and won 64-63 earlier this year. So I'm, home revenge, very little home court. I took Canisius plus 8.5 here. They're not a very good team, but neither's Niagara.
No.
So you're asking a bad team in Niagara to lay points and to win a game. They're going to be happy to win by 2 or 3. So I like Canisius plus the 8.5.
Do we know about this conference yet and their tournament?
I think I did some work on that.
Because right now Niagara is 11th of 13 and Canisius is 13 of 13. 2 and 8 in the Metro Atlantic.
Metro Atlantic MMAC. Did I do that? I didn't do that one.
All right, well.
I'll have to get that one for you. I can look and see and take a guesstimate and see if it's the same. I think it will be. I was working on these conference tournaments today, and by the time I get them done this weekend, we'll have this that I'll get it to Ryan, and Ryan can make a graphic up for us, and we can show these conference standings and how teams are doing and if they need the game or not. Okay, so the Metro Atlantic, normally the top 5 get a bye in this conference. That's the way it was last year.
Right.
So top 5 would be Sacred Heart. The 2 teams we're talking about here in this game, Canisius is at the bottom of the standings, Niagara as well at the bottom of the standings. These 2 are just playing for pride in this game. So the dog is for me.
Was it Santa Clara and St. Mary's that you talked about yesterday being so close? Or was that Loyola and Pepperdine?
It was Loyola and Pepperdine,
I knew it was at the end of the show there. Okay.
I think St. Mary's and Santa Clara are pretty close, though, proximity.
Santa Clara did cover as well, so that was another dog that got there. Let's go to Rutgers. They're a 5-point favorite against Iowa, and the total is 162. This is the first game for these 2 this year.
I'm in at 5.5, 171, and that's because of Iowa, one of the fastest paced teams in the country, great offensively, average defense. Well, Rutgers runs, and they're way better on the offensive end than the defensive end. Both teams have trended to the over, combined 26-19 over. As for the 2 teams, my number, Rutgers 5.5. I believe that's right where we're at, -5.
Yep.
Both of these teams need the game, though. This game is very important for both teams. Iowa State is a game and a half out of a bye, but only a half a game up from being knocked out of the conference tournament. So they must win. And Rutgers is almost identical. They're a game out from a bye, but only a game up from being knocked out of the tournament. There's like 6 teams that are right there within 1.5 games of playing in the tournament or out of the tournament and the season's over. So these teams must win. That may not mean defense. That means their offense. Both teams' strength is their offense.
Yeah.
These teams have to be ready to play tonight and score. So I really do like that game over.
I do too. Especially like you said, both of them are definitely better on the offensive side than the defensive side, especially Iowa, who is the road team here in this one. Let's go to Purdue Fort Wayne. They're 1.5 on the road, total 158. This is the Horizon lead for these 2.
I can't believe I didn't put any pens. I always, have 100 pens everywhere, and I didn't have one. All right, Horizon League, and this is another, good conference.
And these are 2 of the top 4.
Yeah, they are two really good basketball teams. I think 2 good coaches too. Well, yeah, I like John Kaufman at Fort Wayne's been there 10 years, and he's 15-8 covering this year, and he's an over guy. Fort Wayne won the first meeting 90-81. They are 1.5 games out of first, but they're 3.5 games up for the bye. Now, this is an interesting conference, the Horizon. Top 5 teams get a bye, but the top 4 teams get a home game.
Wow.
The first round is played at the campus site, so it's more important to finish in the top 4 than it is in the top 5. So that makes a little bit of a difference. And it also is an interesting conference because they reshuffle after every round that they make sure the top seed plays the lowest seed. So you're not going to get you'll get 1 versus 8, but then if 7 upsets 2,
right? Okay,
1 will then get 7 after that.
So it's not a set bracket.
It's not a set bracket. So
like that.
they reshuffle. So that the 1 seed is always going to get the weakest team. So it's very important to finish as high as possible. So again, Fort Wayne just 1.5 games out of first place. They're in second place. They're fighting for it. Youngstown State, they are a half a game up for a home game because they're the 4th seed. The 4th seed gets a home game, but they only have a half game lead. They are 3 up from 2.5 for having a bye. So they're comfortable there, but they want to keep that home game. So both these teams come to play. I have Fort Wayne 4. I think they're the better team. There's no revenge. This game is 1.5. I do like Fort Wayne. Basically to win the game. They're the better team, and I do like the game over the total. Made it 162. Both these teams run, and Fort Wayne far better offensively than they're in the defensive. And now I will say Youngstown State's the better defensive team.
Both of them, you're right, do play at a very fast pace and kind of correlated there with Purdue Fort Wayne with the better offense in that one. Let's keep it here in the horizon with Oakland as a 5-point favorite on the road, total 143.5.
I made them 3 and 140.5. Basically, it's right there. Oakland in 6th place in the conference, and Indianapolis in 10th place. They're 5.5 games out of the bye. They just really have nothing to play for. They're just waiting for the conference tournament. They know they're going on the road. They're going to play somebody in the first round.
A10 here, Rhode Island 2.5 and 142.
Made it 2 and 156.5. Really like the over here. Rhode Island loves to run. Both these teams very good on the offensive end, but they do rank higher defensively. Both teams too. Looking home and away, they both do have a little better over under trend in this spot. Bonnie's 5-4 over on the road, and Rhode Island 7-5. 7-5 over at home. It's the first meeting of the year, so I do like that. I feel like sometimes the second meeting could be a little more defensive because you've seen the team once already. So yeah, I'm over there, but just a 1% play. Even though I have a pretty big difference, I'm still really not that excited about the over because of the offense. One of the team's offenses is bad. Who is it? Rhode Island's average offense. Yeah. But again, both their defenses are actually ranked higher than their offense. And St. Bonnie's play slow on the road. They're the slower team of the two, and it's supposed to be a close game. So a lot of those factors are really factors that I like to bet a game under.
But you also like to trust your numbers.
No, right. Trust the process. So I'm going to stay with it and just bet, a 1% play.
How about Temple, 7.5 at home, 147 against Tulsa? I
made them 9. First meeting this year. Tulsa won the only game last year at home, 143.5 the total. So this total was at 148.5, and it has been bet down to 147. So I don't think there's really anything there. There's not, a lot of red on my sheet to say, wow, this is a definite under team. They both play slow. They're both bad offensively. That's not the case. So I'll just pass.
Okay. Yeah. Temple, definitely their defense is not their strength. UMass 2, 147.5.
We haven't had a lot of differences in sides, but we're starting to get some differences in sides. I made UMass 5. This game was 1 and now bet up to 2. Davidson won the only contest last year at UMass. So I really feel like UMass will be ready for this game. I like Frank Martin a lot as a head coach. I think he's starting to turn this team around a little bit. And when you look at UMass at home, they're 4-6 ATS, nothing great. But again, is Frank Martin collecting a paycheck or is he coaching? I have to let me look at the A10 standings real quick.
That's good because our next game, you'll want the standings as well.
So the Atlantic 10 is the top 4 spots get a double bye. Top 9 get a bye. And right now UMass is tied for that 4th spot. So I like that. There's, a lot of motivation for them to win and get up there. Now Davidson, they're fighting for a bye.
Right.
So there is motivation for both teams. But UMass is the better basketball team, so I do like that play at -2.
I think I'm in with you on that one. Let's talk about these two both fighting for a bye and that top 9 seed. St. Joseph's 13 at home, 148.
Yeah, that's a big number, 13. I fought to make this as low as I could. Now again, you need you need to pull out that Rand McAnally map and see how far. But now you can just go on your phone and see how far these teams are apart, and they're 6 miles. Remember, I talked Duke and North Carolina, 8 miles, one of the best rivalries in basketball. Well, this one has been a rivalry for 100 years because these two teams are right next to each other, 6 miles apart, do not like each other. They always play, they can play blowouts. There can be blowouts in these games, and St. Joe's already won this year at LaSalle, 82-68. If you don't give home court in that game, you probably win that game easily because I do have St. Joe's 16 points better, and they won by 14. I'm not going to give any home court here. I got to give revenge, and I just wanted to have a bet on LaSalle. So I made the game. I moved it all the way down to 10. I didn't give any home court, and I put the 2.5 in for revenge, and I played LaSalle, and I took the points plus 14.5, and I think it's come down now. Now it's down to 13. I don't know if there's as much value at 13. I could lose by 14. And it's a full bucket difference to get the win.
There is 114.5 still out there, but besides that, it's all 13s and even moving the way to go to 12.5. So,
well, hopefully that's not a glitch and it's the system working slow. Somebody find that 14.5 and take it. If you didn't like the game, you got a little middle going for you, plus 14.5 and minus 13.
It might be a glitch, but
yeah.
We'll check that out.
My total's right there. I have nothing on the total.
Here we go. TCU's 5.5. It's the first game between these two with them and the Cowboys, and 139.5.
Last year, TCU won the only meeting at Oklahoma State. So revenge factor for the Cowboys. My adjustment was down to 1.5. I took 5.5 with Oklahoma State, and you can too. It's still at plus 5.5. Both teams a losing record in conference. Oklahoma State 4-8, looking up at TCU, who's 5-7, but not that far ahead of them. And again, this is a conference with some buys that you want to finish in the top 8 to get that bye, and both teams are right there. Oklahoma State's just 2 games out of a bye with 8 to go, right. So there's time for them to get there. You just need to make sure they're playing well. They haven't most of the year. Steve Lutz, new head coach there at Oklahoma State. They are 4-4 ATS in their road games. So
they are 2-2 in their last 4 games. Well, those 2 wins were at home, so they have struggled on the road.
But they're 4-4 ATS. So
ATS, yes.
Yeah, so it's not a major. These two teams I have rated identical. I think they're the same. They're a mirror image of each other. So, and in all ways, their rankings on offense are identical. Their rankings on defense are pretty close. TCU does have an advantage defensively, but both teams have had bad years. I said this. Oklahoma State 9-14 ATS. Well, TCU's 7-15, down 9.5 units if you bet them every game. They're one of the weaker teams on the card when it comes to betting against the point spread.
Here we go, Mississippi.
We mentioned we passed that Temple game. Somebody mentioned in the chat Temple 12 straight overs. Might have been JR.
Yes,
he's right. They've gone over 12 straight. I leaned to the under though. My number leaned to the under because of Tulsa and how they play. That they're a slow down team with a bad offense. So be careful. That streak could come to an end today. I wouldn't bet against it. I'm not going to bet against it.
Just a good reason to stay away from it.
Yeah.
Our first SEC game here, we've got Ole Miss on the road against South Carolina. South Carolina did win both last year. Are we laying the 5, or are you looking at the total, 138?
Yeah, I made it 5, but I did adjust up to 7.5 because of that that revenge factor from last year. South Carolina 0-10 they haven't won a game yet, so you're going to get an effort from them. But Mississippi as well is fighting for a higher seeding in the conference tournament and trying to get a double bye, I believe. Let me see. The double bye is the top 4 teams. They are a half a game out of being 4th. So you're going to get Mississippi come into play for 2 reasons. 1, they lost both games last year, and 2, they want that double bye. I feel very comfortable laying 5 on the road with Mississippi. I could even drop the home court value a little bit more than I did and make this game 8.5 to make you feel better.
And of course, they are chasing down A&M and Florida, who both did win last night, so they will be highly motivated. Dayton 8 on the road, 146.
I have Dayton 7 and 146.5, so we can just pass on by that game.
UNC Greensboro 9, 139.5.
This is an interesting game to me. VMI's had a good year for the military school. They're 6-6 in the conference. They do have home revenge. They lost 60-57 at home. So I adjusted this down to 5.5. It was 10. Now it's down to 9. I still think there's a little value with VMI. They've been one of the best spread cover teams the entire year, 16-5 on the year covering. And I believe their road record is still solid. 9-3 ATS on the road.
Very good. So that's a play right there, even at 9.
Yep. Plus 9.
9 is the best number out there, I believe. Cleveland State 4.5 and 141.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good game too. 2 really good teams. Cleveland State is in first place, 12-5. Robert Morris is tied for 3rd at 10-5. They are only a half a game up, though. As I mentioned, the Horizon League, the top 4 teams get a home game. So Robert Morris needs to keep winning. Cleveland State's in first by a game and a half. Not that they're going to relax, but there's really not that much motivation. They're sitting in a good spot. And they beat Robert Morris by 11 on the road already. So Robert Morris has that revenge. I only made the game 1. I took 4. You can now get 4.5.
What do you have the total? Because I was hoping to play the under with both.
I made it 137.5. I lean to the under. Both teams do play slow, and both teams are better defensively. Robert Morris is 15-9 over on the season, though. They're 9-2 over in their road games.
Wow. Okay. Good to have those road and home splits for the totals, definitely. Back to the Southern here. Wofford 12, 136.
Made them 18. They're just such a much better team, and it's all, is there any incentive? They're 7-5 on the year, 5th place in the conference, in the Southern Conference. The top 6 teams get a bye in the conference, and right now they are, they're number, what did I say, number 5? Yeah. They're only a game up. They're only a game up from having the bye, from being out of a bye. So I think they come to play. They won by 11 already this year at home. Citadel's a bad team. 0-12 in the conference. 6-13 ATS. So as bad as they've underachieved. Both teams play extremely slow. Wofford can score. That's their strength, and Citadel can't. Yeah. So I think this could be a rout very easily.
Out of the top 300, both offensively and defensively. How about this pick'em game we have here now with Georgia Tech, who has a losing conference record against Stanford. Total 146. Stanford 8-5 in the ACC.
Yeah, surprising. Surprise. Kyle Smith in his first year there has them playing really good basketball, and he's a good coach, and that's why they can score, and that's going to be the difference in the game because of their offensive strength. I still made Georgia Tech 3, though. Both teams need the game. There's motivation. Stanford is 2 games out of a double bye. Georgia Tech is a half game out of a bye. So a lot of motivation for both teams. I have the total 149. My numbers are right there. Didn't play anything.
You're with the bookmakers because this did open up Georgia Tech a bigger favorite. Louisville 6.5 on the road against NC State, 143.5. Not the same Cinderella team here for NC State. that we saw last year.
Though complete turnaround. They're 17th out of 18 in the conference. They're 2-10. And I don't think a lot to play for. Louisville, they're the turnaround team of the year. Pat Kelsey comes in and takes a team that won 4 games last year, and they're 18-6, 10-14 covering. And guess what? They lost at home last year to NC State. Then they lost in the conference tournament, and their season was shut down by NC State. So that revenge factor, I love it. I made the game 12.5. You're laying 6.5. I think it's a really good spot. Much better basketball team right now. 2 teams going in opposite directions, and Louisville just has a lot to play for. They do have a 1.5 game lead for the double bye, but that revenge factor of losing at home and the conference tournament really helps me, want to just back Louisville a little bit more.
I really want to see what they lost by, because could you imagine watching, well, it was the first game of the tournament. They lost to them.
Yeah, it was probably.
But then you watch NC State win the ACC, get into the big dance, and make that kind of run.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting there. VCU is 8.5 on the road, 142 against George Washington.
Another revenge game. It was from last year, but it was the only game they played was at VCU, and George Washington won the game. So I made the game 13.5. We got the far better team with that revenge factor, and I think they'll come to play. So I laid 9.5, and it's down to 8.5. I made the game 13.5.
Wow. So people just taking the number, they're taking the points. Wake Forest is 7 at home, 144.5. They are in that around that 5 seed, right, for the ACC?
Wake Forest, I have them number 4, but they only have a half a game lead for that double bye. So they'll be focused, and Florida State is tied for the bye in 9th place. Very important game for both teams. I have the game Wake Forest 9. It was bet up from 6.5 to 7. I have the total 143. No play there.
Next, we've got Furman 5.5 and 153.5. I
have them 3 because of revenge. A loss earlier in the year, 79-74 at home. So I like Mercer plus the points actually, but it's not that good of a play now. I took 7, and now it's down to 5.5. Wow. So pass. The total is right on. I wouldn't take 5.5. If you can get 6, I would go for 6 because it'll take them to beat you by 7 for you to lose.
Bradley 8 and 144.
Love this game. 2 really good coaches, unknown, Scott Nagy and Brian Wardell. Both really good basketball coaches. If I was going to start a program, I would not mind hiring either one of these guys. Scott Nagy we've seen a lot of coaches come from South Dakota State, and move up. TJ Otzenberger's one that comes to mind. Scott Nagy was the originator of that program. He put South Dakota State on the map. His offensive system is still the system they use there from 20 years ago. And then he moved on and he went to Wright State. And he had 8 straight winning years at Wright State, taking him to the NCAA tournament a couple times. And now he gets hired at Southern Illinois. Well, they started out extremely slow, 0-5 in the conference. That's because you got a new coach putting new systems in, and sooner or later it's going to click. Well, it's clicked. They're 7-2 in their last 9 games. They're an outstanding team. They're playing great basketball. They have home revenge. Their first conference game in December, when they didn't know what they were doing, they lost by 23 on their home court. This is an in-state rivalry. Now they're 244 miles apart, so it's not like it's, next door, but they're both in the state of Illinois. I have the game 2, Bradley 2, and I could make it lower because, again, Southern Illinois is playing. They're peaking right now. I think they're going to win the basketball game, and they're getting 8.
Wow, plus 300 there, 3-1 odds on the money line. I like to follow those teams that are peaking at the right time, and that's why I keep bringing up K-State, but you're really starting to see them play good basketball. It took some time for the Illinois transfer to get into that system. But these two teams are very similar numbers here. Wichita State 7 against UTSA, and 152 is the total. I
have it 6.5, but I have 160.5 on the total. I like it over. Both teams really up tempo. They really play fast, and Texas San Antonio far better on the offensive end than their defensive end. It shows in their trend. 13-7 to the over. The only negative is Wichita State is 8-3 under in their home games. They have played already this year, 88-75 UTSA. But I'm just not sure if Wichita is good enough defensively to beat this team. So they do have the better defense. But I like it over.
Yes, they do have the better defense. I love this one. Curious what your numbers came to here. Samford 5, 156. Now these two are tied for 1 right now in the Southern Conference.
Yeah, they are. It's a revenge game for Chattanooga. They lost at home, or they would be in first place right now. So I adjusted it down to 1.5. I took 5.5. You can still get +5. That's the right side. Chattanooga, coached by Dan Earl. He's in his third year, doing a great job. I see a vast improvement from this team. So, yeah, I like that play. And it should be a very close game.
Well, and they only lost by 4 at home, and you're getting 5. I mean, they're on the road, but still, yeah, they're going to have that revenge. Missouri State 3.5 and 132.
Made it 4.5, but love the total. Made it 119. The first meeting was 57-40. Evansville won by 17 at home. They both play extremely slow. Both teams are really well below average on offense. So I think it's another game that's going to be, I have 62-59 is my score in the game. So love it under.
Under in that one. Belmont 5 and 161.
Belmont's my over team. They love to run. I have the game 7, so no value there, but I have the total 174 again, 17-7 to the over Belmont. Valpo's 14-9 over. Both teams run. They're both up tempo, and both teams have far better offenses than they do the defensive end. The total, I'd be a lot higher if it was at Belmont, because Belmont scores more at home and Valpo scores more on the road for some reason, but still solid overplay. And as I said, Belmont has been one of my good over teams all year long.
So back-to-back, we got an under and then an over. Going to the Big East, Xavier and Providence. Xavier 2.5 and 146.
These two teams won on each other's home court last year. Xavier was beaten in the last meeting. Both teams, a very important game. Xavier a half a game out of a bye. Providence 2 games out of a bye. So, they're both going to give great effort. I have Xavier 2.5. They're the right favorites, right on the number, and the total's right there, 148.5. So no play on that game.
Arkansas State 15 and 151.5.
Revenge from this year. Southern Miss lost 81-68 at home. I have them 10. We're taking 15. I took 14.5, so you can get even a half a point better. Again, only a 1% play though.
15 with Southern Miss. Troy 9.5 at 136.
I made them 9 and 129.5. So my number says under, and the trends the trends are definitely to the under. Troy 14-8 under. Lafayette 15-9 under. And there's no real up tempo here. Troy plays slow. Lafayette, horrible offensively, but they are really bad on the defensive end as well. Troy's the team that their defense is far better than their offense, and they're the team that will probably help keep this game under the total.
Washington, bottom of the Big Ten right now, traveling to take on the Buckeyes. Ohio State 11, 145.
Yeah, they're fighting for their lives. First year in the Big Ten, they're a half a game out from playing in the tournament. Otherwise, if they lose, they're going to be a game out from, ending the season. There is 7 games left, I believe, in the conference, or might be 6 now. They're getting down there. Ohio State is 3 games out from a double bye, and they only have a half game lead for a bye. So it is a very important game for Ohio State. So I made the game 11. It's right there. The total 146. It's right there. But I think you get a great effort out of both teams. Neither team really runs. Both teams are better on the defensive end than they are on the offensive end. So if there was a lean to anything, it'd be to the under. But my number is 146, so not betting against that.
What about Drake? 1.5 on the road and the total 127.
I made him 1.5 and 119. This game was bet up from 125 to 127. Both teams play extremely slow, especially Drake. Drake's one of the slowest teams in the country, and they play very good defense. The only negative to this game is Illinois State does not play defense, and they are 15-9 over on the year. Let's see, they're 8-4 over at home. That's the only negative to the game. They played earlier this year 66-62. That would have gone over that total. So such a low total. I didn't bet it yet, and I probably won't. I'm just going to pass it.
Let's go to 2 SEC games right here. So Arkansas has won 3 of their last 5 after losing 5 straight in the SEC. Now they are at home laying 9.5 against LSU, total 145.5.
Yeah, I made it 11 and 142.5. So I leaned to Arkansas, and I'm glad you brought that up, that they are playing a little bit better. But on the year, it's been a bad year for John Calipari. 8-14 ATS. I think he will turn this team around. John Calipari is too good of a head coach. So this is a team to maybe keep your eye on, to maybe make a little noise in the conference tournament, that they may make a run, because you don't give up on John Calipari. He knows what he's doing. He's an excellent head coach, and they do have some talent there. So I think he's just still trying to put it together. He hasn't gotten them to peak, and they will. And when they do, they're going to pull off an upset.
Yeah, they just started with such a tough schedule, starting off their conference with Tennessee, Mississippi, and Florida, all back to back. But I do think that is the better side there with Arkansas at home. Missouri. Big surprise here, 9.5 at home, 151.5. What a turnaround for that program.
Yeah, I made him 8 and 149.5, and it is a heck of a year by Dennis Gates. I think he's kind of had a couple up and down seasons with some teams he's had. Porter Moser for Oklahoma is a really good head coach too, and he's in his 4th year there now. I expect Oklahoma to, kind of pick it up. But Missouri's a good team. They're the better team. My total's right there, 149.5. I really don't have anything in this game.
Sean, is there any side bets in this one between you and Jeff Parles? No side bets in this one. Okay. Texas Tech 16 at 144.
I have them 15 and 136.5. Arizona State, kind of surprising, because I think Bobby Hurley's a really good coach. This is his 10th year there now, and he's always been competitive. But they've never won a Pac-12 conference championship. Now they're in the Big 12, and they're 3-game losing streak, 2-8 in the last 10. They're 4-6 ATS over that time. The total, why am I leaning to the under? Well, Grant McCaslin, who came from North Texas, plays slow, and they play really good defense. Arizona State is far better on the defensive end than they are offensively. So that matches up. I like it under the total.
Is this the first game?
Very first time they played.
Yes, okay.
Could be the first time they played ever. I don't know, but because, different conferences.
Right. Notre Dame 4.5 on the road, 137.5.
Always a big rivalry with Boston College. I have the game 4 and 133.5. Notre Dame won the first meeting 78-60, and Notre Dame has a 2-game lead of being knocked out of the tournament. That's how low they are at 15th, but they're 1 behind getting a bye. So they are in like a deadlock with a lot of teams. Boston College at 2 and 10, they are 2 games out of the tournament. So they need to make up 2 games to get into the tournament. So I think it's a big game for both teams. And I'm making that point because my numbers were leaning to the under, and you have 2 teams that play extremely slow. The only negative is Notre Dame is a far better offensive team than they are defensively. But saying that, they're still 12 and 10 under this year. So the totals have been extremely high in their games. The tempo is going to be there. It's going to be slow. First time they played this year, it did go under. And that game fell 138 and went under, and we're still looking at a total pretty close to that at 137.5.
It has been bet up to get there, did you still have a play?
I wouldn't have had a play at the opening number
135
from last night. Yeah, 136 and a half. But it's really close. But again, it's a rivalry. These teams don't like each other.
Right.
And both teams need the game badly. BC's playing for their life. And Notre Dame isn't, they're only one game from being knocked out, or two games. They only have a 2-game lead. A 2-game safe lead from, to make sure they're in the conference tournament. That makes this ACC an interesting one to watch because there are 3 teams that will not make the tournament.
Duke, coming off of that upset against Clemson, laying 23 at home, 143.5. Yeah,
bad loss. What will we see? I've been, pleasantly surprised with California this year. I think Mark Madsen's done a nice job in the transition from Pac-12 to ACC. They are 6-1 ATS in their last 7 road games, California. So they're playing well away from home. I do have the game 23.5. I don't have a play. But these teams like Duke, this good, coming off a loss, sometimes they just take care of business. They get up early with that crowd and feed off of it. They could go on a big run and be up 20 in the first half. So if you like Duke, I would bet the first half instead of, the game, but I don't have a play in the game. I'm passing.
23 looking like the right number there. New Mexico 15.5 and 142 against Wyoming.
I can't help you. There's revenge for Wyoming. They lost 61-53. So I adjusted New Mexico from -20 down to -17.5, and it's pretty close. And my total is right there, 142. It's right on the South Point.
Yes, contradicting styles of play for those two, so it gives us a 142 and no play. Let's take a quick 1-minute break because we're going to come back and we're going to give you our whiteboard plays of the day. We'll briefly talk about Four Nations too. There is one game tonight, so we will bring up those odds that we have here at the South Point and talk about any potential futures that we have in pocket. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Get ready to laugh with Punchlines with Frank Nicotero. Join Frank and his team of featured guests for your daily dose of comedy.
Reno, the Pittsburgh of the West.
Poison.
Yeah.
Poison.
Sports.
F for Falcons, Alex. We were talking Derek Carr for MVP after 2 games. Okay, me. I was.
And the funniest social media posts.
People want to show off their food. Boom. Wiener on a guy's shoulder. It's the Dark Colts. We bleed blue.
It's your one-stop spot for great laughs and a good time. Find us on YouTube at Punchlines FN and join the chat live weekdays at noon Pacific for the ultimate blend of jokes, sports, and viral fun.
Thank you to Vince for keeping us here. A question about the revenge factor, which I'm glad that Chi-Town did ask, because it took me way too long to figure this out, and you told me numerous times you only give revenge to the away team when they lost on their home court. So his question was, is it only revenge if the home team loses the last matchup, but it's almost the opposite.
Yeah. Well, the home team from the last matchup.
From the last matchup.
Yeah. That's what I use, and I've gone back over the years and crunched those numbers. That's the most important revenge. There is motivation if, let's say, you lost last year on their home court, and now you're back again, or you're at home. But you're giving home teams home court advantage already built in travel and stuff like that. So it's just, I just crunching those numbers and adding more to the home team didn't get you more winners. And it made sense to me because you end up on more dogs with those away teams with that revenge factor, where if you're adding 2.5 to the home favorite already, you end up on favorites. And again, they don't care about winning by the point spread. They just care about winning the game. So a lot of those times you hate to be in that situation that you lose your bet, but they won the game and they celebrate like they won the Super Bowl because they got revenge from playing last year. So I add it to the visitors only.
So Joey B. Minidar also in the chat jumped in about the revenge factor, that you really like it. Greg Hampton, new, welcome. I believe you have this factored in as well. Talked about Iowa Center, the Hawkeyes here.
Yes.
And their second leading scorer out for the season. But we do have that in the numbers. And then Wagon Sports said, have a great day. And we had a poll going. I didn't even realize. Best part of today's slate for the NCAA men's basketball games. Oh, that is the best part of the slate, is those games. Probably hockey was the other option there. South Point, NCAA prop, any SEC team versus the field. It was SEC team that won in today's poll with 53%. I am getting a little bit nervous that maybe we're a little bit too high on these SEC teams. And come tournament time, we're going to see some others really make a run there, because there are some really good teams around the country and they've been there before. But we'll see. We'll have a great game on Saturday between Auburn and Alabama to get a feel for what those games will look like when the SEC matches up in the tournament. Going to the four nations here, we've got Sweden and Canada playing tonight. Canada, a very big favorite by the books. They are minus 240 here at the South Point. The total is 6. It has been bet up a little bit. It opened juiced to the under. Now it is juiced over. So if you like over 6, it's minus 115 in that one. I do know Canada is going with Jordan Binnington over Aiden Hill. So he will have the first start for Canada and goalie. I don't know who Sweden is going with. Checking at the list of their 3 options, because I do have that, and I know you do as well. Oh, and I have it right here. So Philip Gustafson from the Minnesota Wild, I would have to imagine they're going with him. Olmark is on the team, but remember, he just came back from injury. Senators goalie now. And then Samuel Urson for the Flyers. And that is because Jacob Markstrom, New Jersey Devils, was injured. So he is no longer playing, and that might be part of the reason why Canada is such a big favorite. Anything you like in this first game, I will jump in after. I did not jump in this game or tomorrow's game of Finland and USA, but I did take some of a future on one of the teams. But starting with tonight's game, Team Sweden, Team Canada, minus 240, or you get 2-1 with Team Sweden.
Okay, very important. We had somebody in the chat, Greg Hampton. I know Hampy very well for 25 years, and he brought up said Iowa State, and I'm scrambling to look for a player for Iowa State out, but I don't even see Iowa State playing today, so I'm thinking it's Iowa.
It was Iowa. I said Iowa State instead of center. I was trying to say
okay.
Iowa's center, and yeah.
So I didn't. Well, I know Owen Freeman's out, and he's been out a couple games, and I didn't know he was out for the year. But I do have him out of my number against Rutgers in that game. Another reason why I do like it over, because he was their rim protector, so they really don't have that type of rim protector now. Their defense is going to suffer a little bit, and that really helps the over in that game. So sorry I had to jump to that, because that's very important. I wanted to make sure I had the injury to a star player like that, and that does hurt Iowa's chances of, being very successful without your best defensive player, but it does help us when we bet the over. So back.
But what about the second leading scorer as well? Because I did know the center as well, but we can check in on that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a good offensive player. I think I have him rated a little higher defensively though than I do on the offensive end. They just don't. I mean, they're not going to have much size now. He's their biggest guy. They've got Sanford, who's 6'8", 215, but he's more of a rail thin guy. I guess they have a guy coming off the bench, Dembele, who's 6'8", 255. He'll bring some muscle to the inside, but they just don't have that length to be a defensive stopper in the middle that they had without Freeman. So that just, I guess helps the over, like I said. Let's get to the Four Nations. Okay. And Greg, thanks for that.
Yes.
Please, everybody. I mean, we love that information, and we don't have it all. I wish we did. And if you guys can help us with information in your area and teams that you follow closely, and let us know. We'll let you know if we have the information or not. We try to have as much as we can. So the Four Nations, in this game tonight, and rating out each player and each team, the books got it right on the favorites. Who should be the favorites in these games? I think there's still going to be such battles, though, that, when you're playing for your nation and your country, that it's again, derby game over the pond is what they call them, that these games are going to be, I think, tightly contested. And I can tell you one thing about the four teams. They're all pretty equal when it comes to defense. They're very close matching up defensively. They all have great defensemen. Offensively, the U.S. and Canada have the better scoring players out of these teams. So I bet both dogs the first 2 days. I only made Canada $1.65. Took plus $2 today, but again I talk about money management. I only bet a 1% play on this, and I should have just bet a 0.5% play. Basically, if you had $1,000 bankroll, I bet $10. I bet half a pizza money, basically, if you had $1,000 bankroll. So, plus the $2, and I only made the USA $1.92 over Finland.
You make a great point, and if you're looking at Sweden,
the first
were
game.
You looking at tomorrow's?
I took Sweden plus $2, and again I think it's I gave 45 cents for home ice. They're playing in Canada. But again, these are all NHL players, and we talk about the NFL and the talent level from the top to bottom isn't that great. Same thing in the NHL, top to bottom. It's not that different. The NHL, there's a lot of parity in the NHL. And Canada's a better offensive team. They've got more star players. But defensively, Sweden is just as good as Canada.
Well, and that's what I was looking at with Victor Hedman from Tampa Bay on Team Sweden, who won 2 cups with them, and a couple other really good guys, defensive guys, Erik Karlsson, Penguins, and Broden, Minnesota Wild. So I do like that point about them having the defensemen to keep them in those games. But because of goalie reasons, I did jump in on the future with USA. I got plus 160. That's the best price I see out there. There's a lot of plus 150s for USA. Canada and USA are very close. The best number I see for Canada is plus 150 if you liked that side. And then you can get really juicy numbers on the other two. Finland is 10-1 in some spots, as low as 6-1. And Sweden is 500. Yeah, 5-1.
I flipped my goalies. I was looking to say Finland. Connor Hellebuck, wait a minute, he's USA. So I flipped my goalies. I had the wrong order for these two games, but Saros is a good goalie for Finland. It's a big price. I mean, it's kind of hard to pass up in a 4-team competition, but it is a round robin, and that's why I like it, because we could get some value in the last game, the last day, when a team, doesn't need the game against the team who's playing for pride, that you can get a win with a dog in a situation like that. I thought the books did a good job on the totals. Both my totals are right there in what they are in the book, but we'll continue to adjust after each game. But I'm going to go in with a 1% play on both dogs today and tomorrow.
I do want to just mention that Joey B really likes your revenge factor. He suggested we have a special segment on revenge games, and he also thinks that you potentially could have been an enforcer in the AHL. And always ready for a revenge fight. So maybe in your past life you were goalie. All right, that is it for us. But also, Dad, I did just find out from our poll, because there are 44 college basketball teams in men's. There's 49 in women's college basketball, so you got to go. You got some work to do. And,
I got a lot of work to do.
And some bets to get in. But thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. We appreciate you watching live. Our numbers are growing. We love to see it. We love to have you here with us. And please continue to write in the chat if you need anything from us, have any questions for us. But now, before we get out of here and I forget, we got to go to our whiteboards with our plays, hoping for a turnaround. Expecting a turnaround, because after a bad day, we know that there's a good one right around the corner. So each of us with a few plays. You want to start it off?
Yeah, I'll go first. A dog day for me, and some rivalry games that I like. Canisius plus the 8.5 against Niagara. I like Oklahoma State getting 5.5 with revenge against TCU. Robert Morris plus the 4. Louisville -7. They have revenge. They lost at home last year and the conference tournament. Far better team. And then Southern Illinois, another one, state rivalry, revenge game, and a team that's playing well right now. Southern Illinois, the Salukis are playing really good basketball.
Only one common play for us. I'm going to have to look at some of those dogs because I kind of stopped early here, but I do have 5 plays as well. Going with Iowa and Rutgers with that over 162. UMass -2 at home, the better team there. Ole Miss, I am laying the 5. They are on the road, but they are the better team as well. Southern Illinois +8. That is our common one. I'm going to look for 8.5 after we leave here to get the best number. And Chattanooga +5. That was a good breakdown by you for that one as well. Those are 2 of the top teams, and there was revenge in that one, so I really like it. Also have my future on USA +160 to win that, mostly for the goalies there, but also we got the Kachuk brothers and Jack Eichel, really good team. But it should be fun watching those games. Thank you.
It'll be a lot of fun. Those games are going to be, I think, very competitive. I hope they're very competitive when I'm on both dogs. So hope they're not blowouts. But I feel like they're going to be, 3-2, 3-3 hockey games.
You're right, though. The stars, Austin Matthews with USA, Connor McDavid, McKinnon on Canada. So it should be a lot of fun.
Oh, and the futures, you meant you took $1.60. I didn't get a chance to say. I like that a lot because where's the championship game being played?
In Boston.
In Boston. The USA is going to have home ice advantage in that championship game, and I think, they'll be playing Canada in that game. And so plus $1.60 in the championship game, I think is a great price. You're not going to get it that day. The price will be, if I made it right now, the USA like $1.65 over Canada.
Wow.
And could be higher, could be as high as $1.80 playing in Boston.
So could be a good, if you want to play it that way and just guarantee yourself some money, if you get that price, then you could take a little bit back on Canada. Of course, you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You won't win as much, but
you
will. A little.
You will ensure yourself a profit. And I always say, if you take a profit, you'll never go broke taking a profit.
Right. So that's it for us for today. Thank you again. I will be back tomorrow here at 10 a.m. with Jeff Parles. Thank you, everybody in the back, Jerry, Ann, Ryan, and Sean. We appreciate you guys. Thanks again, everybody watching us live. And if you're watching later, please join us live one of these days and jump in the chat room. But that's it for us for today. This has been Sports by the Book.